You never see the first crack. Power does not collapse in the roar of crowds or the clang of weapons. It thins in moments so slight they escape the senses. A glance held a second too long. A conversation that stops when a door opens. A loyal face that no longer sharpens at the sound of a name. Authority fades quietly, like heat leaking from stone after the fire has gone. By the time the fracture is visible, the foundation has already hollowed. What appears sudden is only the final stage of a long and silent erosion. You feel it as a faint disturbance first, a tension you try to dismiss. Something inside whispers that the room is different, that eyes linger in a way they once did not. You ignore it because to acknowledge it would mean admitting the possibility of loss. That is how the slow death begins. Through your own need for certainty. You believe the structure you built is self-sustaining, but power is never self-sustaining. It survives only while you breathe life into it. You sense the weight shifting beneath you. The familiar grows strangely soft. Conversations that once paused for your approval continue without it. Allies arrive late, speak less, smile with a courtesy that feels rehearsed. You tell yourself they are tired, distracted, overworked. But the truth is simpler and colder. Their calculations are changing. They are testing how much of you they can ignore without consequence. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Machiavelli warned, and their silence is the first proof of that necessity. You notice how easy it is to overlook the smallest signs. A servant forgets a detail. A colleague forgets a title. They wait to see if you correct them. When you do not, they wait again. Every time you let it pass, they learn. Every time you forgive the minor trespass, you teach them the border is imaginary. And once a border is known to be imaginary, it is gone. You begin to taste the danger in stillness. The mind drifts toward comfort, toward the illusion that control, once established, is permanent. But control is not a monument. It is a current. Stop moving, and it stops with you. The instant you accept today as secure, tomorrow is already rewriting itself against you. Your power does not belong to you. It belongs to the tension you maintain in others. Let that tension fade, and what remains is only the memory of command. You must train yourself to see without being seen. Watch for the pauses between words, the small exchange of glances, the subtle realignment of bodies. When you enter a room, listen to what is not said. People will tell you everything while believing they have told you nothing. They reveal themselves in the rhythm of their breathing, in the quiet adjustments of their shoulders, in the sudden dryness of their lips. When they lie, observation is not paranoia, it is survival. You build silent rituals of vigilance, walk a different path each day, rearrange meetings without warning, change the questions you ask so no one can predict your pattern. The goal is not fear for its own sake. The goal is to remind them and yourself that nothing is fixed. When others cannot predict you, they cannot plan around you. Uncertainty is the oxygen of power. You treat every day as both the first and the last. You hold the position as though it could vanish with a single breath, because it can. This is not exhaustion. It is discipline. Power is a living thing. It does not reward the careless. It does not forgive the distracted. It stays only with those who never stop earning it. So you stay awake in the quiet hours. You scan the dark corners of the room. You measure the weight of every silence. You understand now that the true fall is never sudden. It is a long, invisible slide. And only those who keep moving, who keep watching, survive it. Before we continue, understand this. This hidden fracture is only the beginning. In the next chapters, we will expose 6 specific mistakes that silently dismantle influence, errors even the strongest leaders make when they think their position is secure. Stay with this journey of strategy and survival. And if you value power as more than a word, subscribe now so you do not miss the tactics that follow. The first mistake is the sweet poison of complacency. Victory creates its own weakness. After the struggle ends, the mind drifts toward comfort, toward the illusion that the fight is finished. Attention softens, boundaries blur. What once demanded constant vigilance begins to feel automatic. The very instincts that built control dull beneath the warmth of routine. Power does not die from attack alone. It withers in the quiet satisfaction of those who think the threat has passed. You taste it as a subtle sweetness, a calm that feels earned. It whispers that you deserve rest, that the world now bends to your presence. You tell yourself the system will hold, that those around you will remain loyal, because they always have. But in the silence behind their smiles, new ambitions are forming. This is the trap. Comfort dressed as victory, inviting you to lower your guard until the blade finds its place. You begin to trust faces you once examined. Meetings shorten. Questions fade. Small deviations no longer bother you. This is how betrayal grows. Not in sudden storms, but in the slow acceptance of routine. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present, Machiavelli wrote. And those you believe to be constantly already feel the truth of it. Their necessity is shifting while you stand still. You sense the danger, but call it fatigue. You excuse late arrivals, unanswered messages, the quiet edge of impatience in a voice. Each dismissal feeds their confidence. Each indulgence tells them the old rules no longer bind. They will not announce the change. They will only test a little more each day until your authority exists only as a story they once believed. You must destroy the comfort before it destroys you. Engineer unease. Rearrange schedules without warning. End traditions that have begun to soothe. Rotate confidence before loyalty hardens into entitlement. Change the map even when the sky is clear. Let them know the ground is never still. When others cannot predict you, they cannot plan around you. This is not paranoia. It is the discipline of survival. Power is movement. Stagnation is death. The quiet court is the loudest warning you will ever hear. The predator waits for the sigh of relief, and the moment you feel safe, you are already exposed. If you understand the danger of this sweet poison, anchor it now. Comment below with the words, "I will not sleep on power," as a private vow to stay awake, to remain in motion, and to never let comfort become the weapon that ends you. The second mistake is the erosion of fear and respect. Authority decays long before it is overthrown. It unravels when consequence fades from memory, when limits become negotiable, and boundaries are treated as suggestions. Fear and respect are not born from affection. They are sustained by the quiet certainty that action carries a cost. Without that weight, structure collapses from within. Power does not need an enemy to fall. It only needs to be taken lightly. You feel the shift in small tremors first. A joke that cuts too close. A tone just sharp enough to test the air. They are experiments, each one measuring the thickness of the line you once drew. You tell yourself it is harmless. A moment of poor judgment. But every indulgence signals permission, and permission is the beginning of surrender. You allow it again, hoping patience will restore order. Instead, the room learns that defiance is cheap. It is better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both, Machiavelli observed, because love without consequence breeds contempt. They begin to smile differently when you speak, as if your words are requests instead of commands. What they once obeyed out of instinct, they now weigh against their own convenience. You start to recognize the pattern too late. Meetings drag as others interrupt. Promises are delayed with easy excuses. Their eyes no longer lower when challenged. They hold your gaze and wait. Respect is no longer felt, only performed. The cost of disobedience has evaporated, and with it, the invisible pressure that kept your world aligned. You try to reclaim authority with explanations, but explanation is not power. The more you justify, the more they taste your need to be understood. Fear does not return through words. It returns through consequence. Quiet, precise, undeniable. A privilege withdrawn without announcement. A sudden exclusion from decisions. A silence that forces them to wonder where they stand. You must guard the line between mercy and weakness. Mercy given without calculation is weakness disguised as virtue. To hold power, you let them feel consequence without spectacle. No threats, no raised voice, only the unmistakable weight of an action they cannot predict or ignore. Fear must remain invisible but present, like the pressure in a storm before it breaks. Respect must be sensed, not requested. You are not cruel. You are inevitable. When they understand that truth, without a word spoken, your authority becomes untouchable again. The third mistake is the temptation to explain yourself. Power weakens when it seeks to be understood. When authority bends toward explanation, it invites comparison, doubt, and endless debate. Justification is an open door. It signals that the structure can be probed and negotiated. What begins as a single defense soon becomes a habit, each sentence lowering the height of the speaker. The urge to clarify appears rational, but it is the quiet first step toward surrender. Silence feels unbearable at first. You are seized by the urgent need to answer, to repair the story. Before anyone notices the crack, speech seems like control, and you reach for it as if words can rebuild walls. But every sentence is a lamp that exposes seams, tone, pause, hesitation, that others will use as leverage. In the pause, you discover who cannot tolerate stillness and who waits. Those who break silence first reveal their allies and their price. Train the discipline of delayed reply. Count breaths. Wait longer than seems necessary, and mark who speaks first and why. Institute unpredictable routines. Change seating, rotate meeting formats, call sudden check-ins, so patterns fail to become levers. Keep a ledger of small slights. Note who corrects whom, who laughs at certain jokes, who flinches. These micro-patterns map alliance. Use that map to tighten or sever ties without fanfare. Doubt fans the next flame. You gather facts, assemble timelines, and craft explanations. Convinced that transparency will halt curiosity. The error is structural. Detail multiplies entry points for inspection and encourages further questions until the whole edifice is scrutinized. Embedded in this reflex is a brutal observation. Rulers who justify reveal insecurity, and insecurity is an open wound. When you justify repeatedly, others find that wound and press at it. They fashion new inquiries around the fissure you expose. Words do not seal that breach. Decisive motion does. Choose one clear, unambiguous action. A policy shift. The sudden reassignment of responsibility. The cancellation of a favored privilege. And let that action redefine incentives. Make that motion visible in consequence, not explanation. Cancel a meeting, reassign a budget line, or remove a seat at the table. When incentives change, behavior changes faster than rhetoric. Movement collapses debate because it alters material costs, not opinions. Act and the room will align. Explain and the room will argue. Anger arrives as a tempting remedy. You imagine a sharp rebuttal will silence critics and re-establish distance. In reality, an outburst supplies observers with raw material. Cadence, breath, micro-tremors, small coordinates they use to map your interior. They will test whether your aggression is performative or true conviction. Performance breeds contempt. True conviction must be private and followed by consequence. Do not perform fury for optics. Instead, execute surgical adjustments. Withdraw access silently. Reassign a lieutenant without announcement. Remove a privilege so the lesson is felt but not debated. Time these corrections when attention is elsewhere, and they will take root without spectacle. Measure impact quietly. If resistance persists, escalate with another silent adjustment until alignment returns. Punishment that arrives as fact ends debate. Punishment that arrives as argument prolongs weakness. Let action be the rebuke and the silence after it be the verdict. The quieter the correction, the louder the lesson. Mercy masquerades as strength. You trade explanations and concessions for temporary calm. Believing generosity will secure loyalty. Each concession subtracts from authority. Every bargain teaches them to bargain again. Leadership measured by favors becomes a ledger that runs deficits. Protect authority with calibrated omission and controlled consequence. Withhold rationales for choices. Retire honors without ceremony. Let removals land as facts rather than topics for debate. Design invisible rules that govern privilege so consequence arrive predictably and without spectacle. A signature that removes access. A seat that no longer appears on a list. A project quietly reassigned. Mercy with method preserves power. Mercy as habit accelerates decline. Make consequence your language and omission your discipline. The fourth is the slow rot of invisible alliances. Silent decay begins long before a throne is overturned. Power does not collapse in a single strike. It dissolves in the unnoticed meetings, the casual confidences, the shared glances between those once thought harmless. Influence fades not by open challenge, but by quiet arithmetic, as others add their grievances together. While the ruler believes, the sum remains loyal. By the time the fracture is visible, the foundation is already gone. Circles form while you sleep. They grow in shadows you choose not to inspect. You sense it first as a shift in air, delays in response, sudden laughter that ends when you arrive. This is the moment most leaders miss. You tell yourself that friendship ensures stability, that history guarantees fidelity, but every alliance unattended is a seed of defection. You hesitate, hoping trust will hold, and in that hesitation, the roots tangle deeper. Their loyalty is a performance, and you are the audience. You accept rehearsed gestures, public praise, dutiful nods, while private exchanges rewrite the script. Behind closed doors, small promises accumulate like currency. Subordinates trade your secrets for favors. Rivals barter future positions for present silence. Machiavelli warned that a wise ruler must divide the people, keeping them at odds. lest their unity breed his ruin. Because the unity of others is the fastest route to your displacement. Ignore this, and you will watch alliances become weapons sharpened by patience. The signs are microscopic. A meeting scheduled without you. A message delayed by a single, calculated hour. Allies sharing language that excludes you. Inside jokes, coded metaphors, subtle signals of a world where you no longer decide. Each detail feels trivial. Together, they are a map of quiet insurrection. You dismiss them at your peril. Power is never lost in a roar. It is siphoned in whispers. You feed this decay when you play favorites. Consistent access to your time becomes an unspoken hierarchy, and hierarchies create conspiracies. Those outside the inner ring find common cause, forging bonds from exclusion. Those inside the ring grow confident enough to scheme for more. Your own attention is the resource that builds their unity. Left unmonitored, it funds your replacement. Control requires rotation. Audit relationships as if balancing an account. Withdraw time from one confidant and give it to another before attachment hardens. Shift responsibilities before loyalty congeals into entitlement. Invite a rival to a private discussion while excluding a longtime ally. Then reverse it without pattern. Keep every bond provisional, every alliance a question rather than an answer. Movement is your quiet signal that no single link defines the chain. Division is not cruelty. It is architecture. When factions compete, they watch each other more closely than they watch you. They leak information to maintain advantage. They warn you of betrayals not out of love, but to weaken a competitor. Their mutual suspicion becomes the moat you no longer need to dig. This is not chaos, but design. Conflict calibrated to protect the center. If you fail to act, the coalition hardens into inevitability. One day their agreement is complete, their story rehearsed, their timing perfect. You will hear of it only when the circle no longer needs to hide. By then, your name is a formality and your decisions are decorations. Do not wait for that revelation. Rotate access, seed rivalries, audit every bond. Treat loyalty as a living contract, reviewed, revised, and revoked without sentiment. Let no friendship grow stronger than your influence. In the quiet balance of mistrust, your authority survives. The fifth mistake is the mirror of your own vanity. Admiration is the most elegant poison. Power begins to rot the moment it craves reflection. When a leader mistakes noise for strength and applause for permanence. The human mind is wired to chase affirmation, to believe that recognition equals security. Yet every ovation is a measurement of desire, not respect, and desire can be turned. Vanity is the silent invitation to control, disguised as devotion. Praise feels like armor, but it is only a curtain. You start to hunger for the sound of approval, arranging your decisions around its echo. Each smile feeds the illusion that loyalty is fixed. In private, you sense the difference. Loyalty is silent, but applause is loud. Still, you chase the volume. This is the first fracture. You perform for the crowd while the throne stands unattended. Flattery is the leash you willingly wear. When admirers describe your brilliance, you lean closer, unaware that they measure your needs with every compliment. Machiavelli warned that rulers who seek glory become the easiest to govern, because he who flatters holds the leash of power. The words that lift you are the same words that bind you. Those who praise today will guide your decisions tomorrow. Their influence invisible but complete. Vanity does not simply weaken, it blinds. You stop auditing the small betrayals. You excuse delays, overlook whispered alliances, Because your reflection seems unthreatened. You believe that a stage filled with cheers is proof of dominion, forgetting that true power is quiet. Crowds gather for entertainment, not allegiance. Their admiration is a transaction. They give noise. You give certainty. When certainty falters, the crowd disappears. The deception is internal before it is external. You become addicted to visibility. More speeches, more appearances, more confirmation. Each display demands energy that should have been spent on control. Systems decay while you polish the image. Rivals understand this weakness. They feed it. They know a leader who seeks admiration will ignore the silent mechanics of discipline. They do not need to strike. They only need to clap. To survive, you must kill the need to be liked. Replace applause with architecture. Track behaviors, not compliments. Build councils of advisors who wound your pride with truth, who speak in data and consequence instead of admiration. Rotate them often so no single voice becomes a mirror. Stability lives in systems, not ceremonies. Seek obedience, not affection. Authority that requires charm is already compromised. Respect is maintained through the weight of consequence, not the warmth of approval. Let the crowd cheer if it wishes, but never move to keep them. Their noise is a passing weather. Your dominion is the climate. If you sense pride rising, withdraw. Reduce your presence. Let decisions speak where words would boast. Observe the silence that follows and measure who remains. Those who stay when the spectacle ends are the only ones who matter. Everyone else was only an audience. Power is sustained by those who do not need to see you to obey you. When your reflection becomes irrelevant, you are safest. When the mirror is empty and your command still stands, you are untouchable. If you found value in this hard truth, stay close. Subscribe now and keep sharpening your understanding of power before vanity dulls it. The next warning arrives soon, and it will be sharper than this one. The sixth is the ruthless discipline of perpetual motion. Stability is an illusion that invites collapse. Every structure, political, personal, or corporate, carries the seed of its own decay the moment it stops evolving. Power that lingers in familiar shapes becomes predictable, and predictability is the first blueprint for rebellion. What appears solid from the outside is already softening within. History is a quiet archive of rulers, lovers, and leaders who mistook stillness for security. Movement is your only shield. You cannot wait for a threat to announce itself. You must shift before the shadow forms. The urge to settle is seductive. After victory, after praise, after profit. Yet the instant you repeat a pattern, adversaries begin to map it. They learn your rhythm, your weaknesses, the timing of your complacency. You sense it too, a faint unease beneath success, but you silence it for comfort. Adaptation must become instinct, not reaction. Machiavelli warned that the wise prince changes his nature with the winds of fortune, knowing that fortune itself is never loyal. This is not chaos for its own sake. It is calculated motion. You rotate allies before necessity forces you. You alter methods while they still work. You abandon strategies while they still win. Each unexpected pivot unsettles rivals and exhausts those who wish to predict you. Your unpredictability becomes a quiet terror. No enemy can plan against someone who moves before the game begins. No partner can betray a pattern that does not repeat. Even those who serve you remain alert, sharpened by the knowledge that nothing is permanent, not even their proximity. In that vigilance, respect hardens. Redefine your role before others redefine it for you. Shift alliances as a habit, not a crisis. Reinvent methods as soon as they succeed. Let movement itself be your armor, the living proof that you are never where the blade expects. In perpetual motion, power survives, not because it hides, but because it can never be caught.